right, so I have received in the mail a Bripe set. This is a really cool kit for making coffee outdoors that I bought after seeing a great review on a coffee YouTube channel that I follow at this point, a couple of months ago. They were just slammed with orders when I placed the order, so it took a little over a month for it to get here. They've got them fully in stock now, so if you decide to get one, they're at briping.com. I'll try to post the link below, but super nice looking set. Comes with this nice felt kit with a little leather patch that says Bripe on the side. And the way that this works is that it is a pipe for drinking coffee, which, if anybody who knows me as someone who used to be a full-time pipe smoker and someone who also drinks about a pot of coffee a day and loves to hike and camp, this is so far up my alley, it's kind of silly. So it comes with, first, this butane torch that you're supposed to use for heating the coffee. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. It comes without fluid because obviously they can't ship a full lighter in the mail. So I had to go find a butane gas tank, and Chancey's just going to run behind because she doesn't care that I'm filming, and I have yet to figure out an effective way to keep her out of the room. It comes with this little torch, which we'll see here in a second. It comes with a stand that we're going to use to set the coffee on. It comes with a thermometer to properly measure the temperature of your coffee. They ship it with this. It's a plastic test tube, and they say this is to put your coffee in. It's a good way to seal up, airtight container that you can put your coffee in for backpacking. And then, of course, it comes with the Bripe itself, which is pretty nifty. And the way that this works is the construction is kind of fascinating. It is a copper pipe, as you can see here, and it's got the bowl. And I'm going to hold this up so that you can kind of see down in the middle. This thin metal sleeve has got filters on it. I'm going to hold that so that the camera can see. And those filter holes are going to be what keeps the coffee grounds from flowing back up. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to put the coffee grounds directly into the pipe bowl. We're going to then use the torch to heat it up, just blasting the torch right onto the copper bowl. Hold it with this cork bit, and then when we're ready to, we'll be able to drink out of this. And the thermometer is going to be used to tell what temperature we need to heat the coffee to. I like the setup because, of course, it's going to let you be very accurate in the temperature to heat your coffee to. Something that a lot of folks don't realize is that most coffee makers are not going to get water hot enough for coffee. So you're not really getting a good full extraction of flavors out of your coffee if you're using just a regular drip coffee pot. If you're like me and you use a French press, you do have a little bit more control, but a lot of folks just use an electric kettle, which is great, but that heats water to boiling, and you don't want boiling. You actually want your coffee to brew at about 190 degrees. 212 degrees is just too hot. You'll actually get some bad flavors that way. So you want to find that nice sweet spot there. And this is going to let us have just completely accurate. It's also great that if you're somebody who likes your coffee a little bit on the strong side, a little bit on the weak side, you're brewing literally just brewing enough coffee for just myself. This honestly would not be enough coffee. Even for me, I would have to, fill this thing up several times. But it's nifty. I think you pull it out around the campfire, light it up, be a great little conversation piece. So, but the way that we're going to work this is I've got some coffee that I just ground. Now, we're going to be putting that coffee directly into contact with our brewing water and letting it sit that way. So I've got a very coarse grind on this. You don't want to do too fine. The filter is set pretty fine, but you would want a really coarse coffee for this. And then I've got some filter. Actually, first, another trick when you're brewing coffee that I think a lot of folks don't do is just a tiny bit of salt. And again, we're not brewing very much coffee here, so it is less than a pinch of salt that I just put in there. And now I've got some filtered water. I had wanted to film this video outside by my campfire, but I couldn't find anybody selling firewood for a price that I was willing to pay nearby. So it says to use the thermometer to kind of stir this up, which is exactly what I'm doing now. I'm going to set the same thin metal thing that it has the filter on it, also has a little holder spot to put the thermometer. So I'll be able to watch my thermometer as I brew. And then they suggest using the torch. Now I'm going to use this just to show off how the kit works. If I actually took this backpacking, I would not take this torch along. This torch is way too big and heavy for that. It's a really cool looking torch. I'll probably use this for some other things around the kitchen. I'm actually wondering if I could probably make some creme brulee out of this sucker. But if I was backpacking, I would probably just boil my water in my camp stove and then pour the water over into this. So we've got this, and then honestly, also kind of glad I'm not doing this outside, because I think my neighbors looked into my backyard and saw me holding a metal pipe and hitting it with a lighter. They would assume that I was probably smoking something else. Some knows the neighbor calls the cops. No, officer, I'm drinking coffee. I swear. Be interested to see how that conversation would go. Now, because this is a copper, the bowl of the pipe is copper, it's going to be really good. It's going to be a really good conductor. So that water will take on the heat pretty quickly. So we're just waiting for this torch to get up. We're already up to 100 degrees. And I'm just moving the torch around a little bit, trying to make sure that I'm heating it as evenly as possible. We're at 120, 130 degrees already. Another nice thing about it, because it's got such a fine filter on the filter basket, that means that this would also be great for brewing tea in. So you could throw some loose leaf, or even cut open a bag of tea and throw that tea dust in there, and you'd be able to brew your tea pretty well. We're at 155, 160. Make sure I can actually see this thing, as we're getting closer to the all right, and now we are at, that is at 190, so I'm going to stop, take my thermometer, use the thermometer again just to kind of stir those coffee grounds a good bit. Again, because it's copper, that is a really good conductor, which means that not only did this heat up nice and fast, it's going to lose heat really fast. There's no insulation there. So I'm not going to have to wait too long for this to get down to a drinkable temperature. And this is where that the stand comes in, so you can let it very properly sit there. You can set this on a log next to you if you're at a campfire or something. So we're just going to let that cool down a little bit. Stir a little bit there. Like I said, you could do tea in this. You could do, trying to think of some other thing. Yeah, trying to think of what else you might want to make an extraction out of. If you can get a hold of cocoa nibs, that would be a great thing to toss in there. Throw in a couple of ground cocoa nibs with a little bit of milk, and you could make a super fresh hot cocoa. Now, the only thing is that just by the way that this works, I kind of wish that there was a way around this. If I was carrying maybe my gloves, I could do it, because you can't really grab the bowl of the pipe like I would back when I used to smoke. I used to smoke a lot of Missouri. I used the Missouri Meerschaum, which was my favorite brand of pipes back when I smoked on a regular basis. And I had what do they call it? The church warden, which was a real long stem that had a corn cob pipe down at the bottom. I quit smoking several years ago, back before I started hiking, because trying to climb mountains and ingesting tobacco on a regular basis do not mix very well. Although there were a lot of hikers out there that smoked. I'm already out of shape. I don't need the help. I do miss that feeling of smoking a pipe, though. So I'm wondering if this will be a nice... Yeah, so that copper stays super hot. And as long as that coffee is hot, you're not going to be able to just grab the bowl. Again, maybe if I was backpacking in the winter and I had a pair of gloves, that I could wear a glove while I was smoking, that would probably work. Otherwise, you're going to have to be... When I'm drinking the coffee, I'm just going to be holding it by the cork here. I suppose you could use... Yeah. I don't know how stable that is. I suppose just hold the stand like this. Sip that way. You gotta be super careful, because if you touch any of that... Right, we are now down to 160 degrees, which is still steaming, but I can take a couple of sips here. Now, by the instructions, it said the first that you're going to blow, just to make sure that you're clearing the coffee grounds away from the filter, and then you can suck in. So, and that's what she said. Reminds me a little of those bubble pipes back when I was a kid. Ooh. I'm going to have to work on dosing. That's a really strong cup of coffee. Given the fact that I am making probably less than half of a cup in this. So it's not a huge amount of coffee. This is by no means a practical way of brewing coffee. There are much better ways of brewing coffee if you're backpacking and you're trying to be as restrictive as possible with how much you're carrying. However, for just the pipe itself and the stand, you're not really looking at that much weight, because the copper is pretty lightweight. This is still a super cool thing to bust out when you're sitting around a campfire. I know when I was on the AT, that is a great thing that a lot of people like to do if they camp out at a shelter, where you're going to have, during a busy season, you might run into 50, 60 people at a given campsite. That happened a lot when I was in the Shenandoahs, because several colleges had freshman groups going out there to hike. So you'd have like a large group of people hanging out around the campfire. And you bust out something. Everybody wants to bust out the coolest piece of gear that they have and make everybody go, oh, that's nice. Pull this out and have everybody go, oh, that's cool looking. Get yourself a nice photo. Again, pull the thermometer out. It's smooth. It's a really good cup of coffee. Like I said, a little on the strong side. I'll have to work on figuring out what the correct dosage is for that amount of water. But pretty delicious. So that is the Bripe. I am super excited to have it. I'm super excited to go to a bonfire party or something this summer. We're still doing the social distancing thing, so outdoor parties is going to be where it's at. I can't wait to show up at somebody's bonfire and bust this sucker out. It's just a cool way to show off and flex a little bit. So comment below if you think you would use this, or what you might try to brew in it. And check out, like I said, they're at www.briping.com. I paid full price, so this is not a sponsored video by any stretch, but it was, I thought it was a really cool thing to check out. Thank you much. Oh, and as we must say, since I'm posting a video online, in the name of like, share, and subscribe, go forth, my children, and be safe.